Hey, what's going on YouTube? Welcome to Post Cologne. Today I'm going to be unboxing 3 fragrance clones from Paris Corner and Maison Alhambra. So let's jump into it. All right, we are back with another unboxing first impression video of 3 Middle Eastern cologne fragrances that I recently picked up as part of a larger haul from Perfume Online. Links are going to be down in the description if you decide you want to check any of these out, and I also have a coupon code. Save yourself $5 off your first purchase at Perfumes Online if you decide you want to shop with them. Pretty excited. Got a Paris Corner here, and I got 2 Maison Alhambras, including the Toro pour Homme. So let's quit screwing around. Let's get into it. All right, so kicking things off, we're going to go to the house of Maison Alhambra, and it's Maison Alhambra's FORTNIGHT. Now I picked this up from Perfume Online for $20, and I don't know anything about this fragrance. Haven't heard anyone talk about this one, so of course when I saw it on Perfume Online, I'm just like, well, no one's talked about this. I gotta get this and check it out. So that's what we're gonna do. Let's jump in. All right, there we have the box presentation for Maison Alhambra's FORTNIGHT. Typical cardboard box, a little rough in transit. Their UPS, they kind of dented that up a little bit, but kind of has like a bit of a leathery band going across it. All the necessaries on the back, but typical cardboard box. Let's see what the bottle looks like. All right, there we have the bottle presentation for Maison Alhambra's FORTNIGHT. Nice looking bottle. It's got kind of these 2 different bands of glass that go across it. It is kind of a heavy glass bottle going onto it, cylindrical, nice thick base happening on there. So overall, kind of nice looking presentation. Kind of enjoy that kind of color change. Not quite a gradient, but kind of. Interesting cap to this. It also has some like knurling on there, if the camera will focus in on it. There we go. Has a kind of like a knurling texture on it as well, and it's a different kind of shape of cap, but it is a metal cap and it got a little bit of weight to it. And the atomizer on this, ooh, nice atomizer. Halfway across the room, good distribution, will definitely get the job done. But what does this smell like? So right off the jump, just smelling this in the air from testing that atomizer, this has a very familiar scent DNA to it. A little bit on the old school side. This kind of reminds me of my dad in a way, not in a bad way, but it has that kind of old school gentlemanly sort of vibe going on to it. Picking up some soft leather, there's definitely some violet going on in the air, and like some like carnation style of florals, kind of like that carnation from like back in the day, like the 80s and 90s. That's what I'm picking up right now. So let's get this on paper. Let's see what we're dealing with. So right off the jump, the opening of this, a really nice kind of bright citrus that's coming forward, mixing in with some nice woods. There's a little bit of a cedar that's there, and there is this violet leaf that's coming through as well, along with this sort of soft, suede style of leather. The leather is there, it's kind of tucked in behind, but it is kind of a nice citrusy opening at this point, but you can tell it's gonna die off and it's gonna give way to some of these others. Still has that kind of, like I said, that kind of muskiness, this carnation style of kind of florals dancing around. Very kind of masculine, like in the office style of fragrance going on. And it does really remind me of Dior Fahrenheit. I think that's where they're going with this one. Yeah, as this is opening up a little bit more, that violet's coming to the forefront a lot more. That leather is still there. The citruses are sticking around longer than I thought. And initially it was kind of like an orange citrus, but now I'm picking up like a little bit more tartness, a little bit more lemon. So there's like a bit of a sharpness there, some tartness there, but there is that brightness that's mixing in with those citruses and that violet leaf with that leathery touch. So it's kind of a nice like citrusy leather with that violet. It doesn't have that same kind of petrol feel that I recall from Fahrenheit, but like I said, very kind of gentlemanly, old school sort of vibes going on with this, and I like this. This is quite nice. Let's skip to the dry down, see how this all unfolds, and we'll go from there. All right, we're back with the dry down of Maison Alhambra's FORTNIGHT. It's been about an hour, and let this settle down, do its own thing. This really kind of dialed back a little bit as this got to the dry down. It was very bold, very masculine style of fragrance in that opening, and it still is, but it's just kind of softened just ever so slightly. That leather accord that was in there has softened out and has kind of dropped down into the background. That violet accord is still very much in the forefront of this, and it's gotten a little bit more musky towards the dry down. So it still holds that kind of, like I said, that bit of that old school sort of vibe, that Dior Fahrenheit style of DNA, but it's not quite hitting the mark from that Dior Fahrenheit. It's a little less spicy. It just doesn't have that kind of petrol sort of feel that I'm remembering from the old school fragrance. It just doesn't quite get there, but it is still a very nice fragrance. This is a very gentlemanly style of fragrance. Like, office friendly. Like I said, it kind of reminds me of my dad, but not in kind of a dated sort of way. It just has that mature, bold, masculine sort of vibe going on to it. Overall, I'm pretty pleased with this one. I think the center chords on this is really nice. Very smooth sort of finish off to this, but it still maintains that masculinity like I've said a couple times already. So I am quite pleased. And for 20 bucks, I've spent money on dumber things in the past. So pending performance, I think this was a great pickup for that 20 bucks, but I'll have to get back to you guys once I get this on skin and let you know. That's Maison Alhambra's Fortnight. All right, next up, going to the House of Paris corner from their EMIR Vibrant series, and it's Sensual Saffron. Now, I picked this bad boy up for $30 at Perfume Online, and I have the Vibrant Vetiver from this similar line of Paris Corner, and I absolutely love that fragrance, so I'm hoping to keep the trend going with this one. These are all supposed to be clones of Byredo fragrances, Byredo fragrances, so I am curious to see what they're doing with this one. So let's quit screwing around. Let's get into this. I'm gonna cut my finger. I'm gonna use my hands. All right, so there we have the can presentation for Paris Corner's Sensual Saffron. I really like how they did the typography treatment here. I am a bit of a typography nerd. I studied design back in college. I really do like how they do these, but overall, just kind of your typical kind of tin can that does that slide off like so. Revealing our bottle that is sticking with that kind of Byredo line of fragrances, similar to the Vibrant Vetiver. So nice, thick, heavy bottle. Has kind of a nice frosted kind of coating that goes on here. Nice dome cap. Pretty straightforward looking bottle, but it is quite nice. A little bit of weight to this. There's a mix of plastic and metal that's in here, and the atomizer on this sucker. Decent atomizer. Doesn't go too far, but nice wide puffs. Definitely get the job done. But what does this smell like? So right off the jump, just smelling this in the air from testing that atomizer, you get hit with saffron right out the jump, and you get hit with some really nice fruity accords that are coming through. There's a little bit of raspberry that's in the air right now, a little hint of some spices, but it's got this nice kind of sweet sour thing going on that's mixing with this leathery style of saffron. So really quite enjoyable right now. Let's get this on paper, see what we're dealing with. So right away off paper, like I said, you're getting that saffron that's coming through. It's a nice leathery style of saffron, and there's a nice grapefruit note that's coming through. So it's got this citrusy sweet style of grapefruit that also has that bit of sourness that you pick up mixing with that saffron, and there is a bit of a berry sweetness, this raspberry that's mixing in. So it's a nice kind of sweet, sour, almost tart style of Centicord mixing in with that leatheriness from that saffron. It has sort of kind of like an uplifting liveliness to this. I think it's coming from that grapefruit that's in there mixing with that saffron. So it's not like a heavy leather. This has like a really nice, light, kind of luxury style of leather. It reminds me a little bit of Tom Ford's ombre leather. I'm not saying this is necessarily like a one-to-one clone of that, but that similar style of kind of fancy leather, like a new leather wallet, new leather purse, but with like this really nice brightness that's coming through, mixing with that tart raspberry as well. Really, really nice. There's a little touch of green that's in here as well, some juniper that's coming through, perhaps some florals that are dancing around, like a kind of a violet-y style of note that's working its way through, kind of around the edges, so it's giving it that a little floral touch. It's giving it a little hint of some almost green aromatics, but through and through, this is kind of that sweet, sour, tart fruitiness that's coming through, mixing with that soft leather. That's pretty much the star of the show right now. This is really quite enjoyable. I am liking this one. But let's skip to the dry down, see how this all comes together, and we'll go from there. All right, we are back with the dry down of Paris Corner's Sensual Saffron. Been an hour, let this settle down, do its own thing. This didn't change a whole lot. This is a pretty basic, simple, not that complex style of fragrance, but it's maintained all the good stuff that I liked in that opening. Still has that leatheriness to it. It still has that fancy style of leather going on to it. So like I said, kind of that new wallet feel, but there's just kind of like a hint of a little bit of earthiness that's surrounding it right now. So it's giving it a little bit of added character, kind of taking it down a notch from being like too bougie of a leather, but it's still kind of up there in that fancy leather. And it's maintained that raspberry note that's there. So that fruitiness, that sweet, sour, tart sort of contrast that's going on with those fruity and sweet accords is still there, and it's still playing really nice with that leather, but it's pretty lovely. I did look up the Byredo line of fragrances because I'm not too familiar with that line of fragrances. I don't own any of them. I've had a couple samples, but this is almost identical in the note breakdown to the Black Saffron. So that's what I imagine they're going for with the Sensual Saffron for that. So if you're wondering what they're trying to clone on this, I believe that's what they're going for because the notes line up almost identical. And this is a very nice fragrance. And for 30 bucks, I think this is definitely, I got my money's worth with this because this is projecting pretty hard. This is the first and only thing I smelled when I came back in this room after an hour, and this is pushing off the paper pretty good. But we'll get it on skin, give it the true test and see how it's going. But I think this is gonna be potentially a beast mode fragrance because this is pushing off pretty hard. So for 30 bucks, I am pretty pleased. Great smelling fragrance. We'll definitely get back to you guys. That's Paris Corner's EMIR Sensual Saffron. All right, last, but hopefully not least, going back to the house of Maison Alhambra with Maison Alhambra's Toro pour Homme. And I picked this up for $23 at Perfume Online, and I had a few of you ask me to review this one, and here we are. That's what we're gonna do right now, give you my first impressions of Maison Alhambra's Toro. All right, there we have the box presentation for Maison Alhambra's Toro. Typical cardboard box, nothing really to it. Necessaries on the back, logos on the front. Let's see what the bottle looks like. All right, there we have the bottle presentation for Toro pour Homme. Looks a little familiar if you ask me, but really nice bottle on this. Nice thick heavy glass, has a nice thick base to it. Just kind of some rounded corners on the top here. Very nice bottle presentation overall. Cap on this, kind of a lightweight plastic, but it's got a little bit of girth to it, so I wouldn't be able to crush this. It doesn't feel cheap in my hands, but it does feel a lightweight. And the atomizer on this bad boy, decent atomizer, a little leaky. Overall, pretty good. We'll definitely get the job done. But what does this smell like? So right out the gate, just smelling this in the air, and from looking at the bottle design, this is a Terre de Hermes clone or twist, but leaning towards clone. This smells quite a bit like Terre de Hermes, but let's get this on paper. Let's sink our teeth in a little bit more. So right off the jump, just smelling this off the test strip, this is a very nice, fresh, citrusy style of opening, and the vetiver in this is coming forward pretty quick. So it's got this really nice bright orange that's there, has a little bit of sweetness, and it's mixing with a grapefruit that's a little less dominant. The orange is very much coming forward. The grapefruit there is adding just a little bit of that grapefruit tartness and a little bit of that grapefruit style of sweetness, but it's mostly that orange coming forward, very fresh, very bright, mixing with that style of vetiver that the Terre de Hermes, if you're not familiar with Terre de Hermes, has a little bit of kind of a grassy, earthy style of feel to it, but it's very fresh at this moment. Very, very nice. As this is opening up a little bit more, there is some pepper that's coming through, so it's adding this spice to it. A little bit of a nose tickle style of pepper that's mixing in with that vetiver accord. So there's almost kind of this green rootiness that's coming through with that grassy style of vetiver. Very kind of that earthy green feel that's coming from that vetiver. But that orange kind of is keeping it very fresh and lively at the same point, mixing with that pepper note. Very nice. It's a little bit fresher than the Terre de Hermes, not as earthy, but it's definitely in that neighborhood, and definitely that's what they were going for. This isn't necessarily a twist of Terre de Hermes. I think that's exactly what they were trying to clone. They just didn't quite hit the earthiness of this, and they got it a little bit fresher than what I remember from the Terre de Hermes, but very, very nice. Yeah, this is really good. There's like a light, breezy earthiness that's happening with this, and a nice balance of those spices with the sweetness, the citruses, that citrus style of sweetness, and that vetiver. The vetiver is not super punchy in the face strong, but it's definitely one of the main characters in this fragrance at this moment, and I really like how they did the vetiver in this. So this is quite nice. I am enjoying this one. So let's skip to the dry down, see how this all unfolds, and we'll go from there. All right, we are back with the dry down of Maison Alhambra's Toro pour Homme. Been an hour, let this settle down, do its thing. This hasn't changed a whole lot. It's still very much that Terre de Hermes style of DNA. I find this is doesn't have quite the same level of kind of that pepperiness. It's still there, but it's not coming through as much with this fragrance as I find with the Terre de Hermes, but it still has that DNA. It's still got that very earthy style of vetiver, that sort of grassy feel to it. You get that hints of that kind of almost mineral style of flint note that's in there that's similar to the Terre de Hermes, and that orange is still there. It's dialed back a little bit. It's not as bright, it's not as kind of forward orange as there, but you still get that hints of that citrus that's mixing and blending in really well with that vetiver, and there's a little bit of cedar that's come through, so it's adding that kind of almost that fresh, spicy, light, airy cedar that's playing in with that vetiver note. Very, very nice fragrance. I am enjoying this one. It's a little bit fresher, a little bit more airy than the Terre de Hermes, but overall, I am really pleased with this. If you like that Terre de Hermes style of DNA and you want to save yourself a few bucks, this is probably the way to go. Just a little bit fresher, a little less of that spice, but it's just got this more kind of lively feel to it with that freshness. And this is gonna be great for the fall and the springtime. Really excited about this one. Not sure what the performance is gonna be like on this. It's a little bit on the light side, like I said, a little bit on the fresher side, so I'll have to get it on skin, get back to you guys, let you know, but overall, pretty impressed with this one. That's Maison Alhambra's Toro pour Homme. All right, so there you have it. That's 3 Middle Eastern fragrance clones, my unboxing and first impressions of the Maison Alhambra and Paris Corner fragrances. But I want to hear from you guys. What are some other Middle Eastern fragrance clones that I haven't reviewed yet that you'd like to see me do an unboxing for? Comment down below. I love hearing from you guys. I love getting your different recommendations, your hidden gems, your different taste and scent profiles. Appreciate you. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see y'all next time.